Man City moved level on points with Chelsea at the top of the table with their big win on Friday night. It was their first win at Kingsmeadow in 8 years.
Wow.
The last time Chelsea lost at Kingsmeadow was in February 2021.
Isn't it 33 games in all competitions?
That's wild. 3 years ago. And it was against Brighton,
Yeah,
which is random as hell.
But also Brighton broke their previous... They'd had like a 30-something game unbeaten record, and it was Brighton that broke it. And then Chelsea were like, cool, we'll just do it again for another 33 games.
No bother. We've got Emma Hayes at the helm. We can do that again. Not to worry. Bonnie Shaw got her 14th goal of the season with a very clinical finish. She is absolutely still well embedded at the top of the WSL goal scorer chart, 2 above Lauren James. And what a goal it was.
Do you know what? There was another moment of the weekend that involves Bunny Shaw, and it wasn't her goal. It was at it was 80-something minute. I can't... Chelsea were absolutely banging on the door towards the end. And the ball popped out, and it was Johanna Wright and Cannerid going for it. And Bunny Shaw kind of came out of nowhere, and the two of them were chasing the ball. And Bunny Shaw was like physically holding her, like she was absolutely fighting as hard as she would fight to get a goal for possession of that ball, and really like ran Johanna Wright and Cannerid out of the box with the ball. And there was a moment there where I just thought, like, it just shows the defensive capabilities she offers as well, not just the goals she's scoring, but like it was that bodies on the line, and how, we spoke to Demi Stokes about how important clean sheets are to them. And you could see that from absolutely everybody, where she was like, I am not letting her get possession of this ball. But no, you're right. The goal was superb, clinical as ever. And it all kind of came through the middle for Manchester City, where I think they dominated, particularly in the first half. I think Jess Park has been incredible. She's stepped into that role in Jill Roard's absence. Obviously, we're used to seeing her playing out on the wing, but she had such a mature performance in arguably their biggest game of the season, and she was excellent.
She was a fantastic playmaker. I mean, she was retrieving the ball, she was getting the ball back, she was playing the ball out wide. She was a big part of why Bunny Shaw was able to then score that goal. I mean, the press that she was putting on Cuthbert, and everyone was saying, yeah, it was a silly mistake from Cuthbert, and we were kind of talking about this before the pod started, and actually it came down to the fact that Park was pressing so high and so intensely, and I don't think Chelsea were kind of... It's very rare that we see Chelsea under that level of press for such a sustained period of time. And like the composed finish from Bunny Shaw, I mean, that wasn't an easy finish. Hannah Hampton had come out. She'd made the angles incredibly small. Like she'd smothered. She went to her arms were outstretched, her legs were outstretched, and just that cheeky little flick off the boot, like outside of the boot, I thought was absolutely beautiful. But yeah, I've got to say, I mean, Jess Park, for such a young head, I mean, she's definitely going to be one to watch in the England camp in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, and you're going out there to see her.
Absolutely.
And the rest of them, obviously. But
Jess.
Yeah.
Don't care about anybody else.
I mean, let's talk about some of the controversial elements of the game, because we were talking about this again. Alex Greenwood, I felt that it was a penalty. I felt that the game could have easily... I think Man City deserved to win the game, but I think on balance, Man City were very lucky not to get a penalty awarded against them for the Alex Greenwood tackle on Myra Ramirez, because to me it didn't look like she got the ball again. But like, did you see a different angle, or do you feel like that's fair? That's fair.
I think that's fair. I think that was a penalty. I think Greenwood got lucky. I don't think she got a touch on it. We've talked about this before though in other games, where you can't kind of rely on one decision to say that that's why you lost or that's why you didn't get points. But you can absolutely be aggrieved that you didn't get that penalty, especially when it was in the first half. Man City were dominating the first half, especially. So it really could have swung things or calmed things down a little bit for Chelsea, and maybe given them a little bit of the boost that they needed. But I think it was a pen.
I loved it, the fact that Alex Greenwood, I think, probably had a heart fall out of her bum at that moment, thinking, oh God, I potentially have given away some very important points here. But instead of like getting up and being a bit remorseful about it, you know, we see like players go over, offer a hand, like make it look to the ref that you're a little bit like, it's a bit of a shit thing that I did. Alex just shouted at Ramirez, who was on the floor. Ramirez didn't really like.
Of course she was. She wasn't going to open and be like, sorry. She's like, I didn't touch her. What are you talking about? Shut up.
But Ramirez was so calm about it. She didn't. I think had Ramirez protested a little bit more, potentially it would have been given, but it kind of wasn't. I think, and fair play to Ramirez for being such a sportswoman about it. But I think welcome to the WSL. I think sometimes when you do kind of, give a bit of grief or give a, ref, like what? Like, I think that's going to
help.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the tactical wise that I think maybe we'll start to see more coming out of her.
When her English gets better, she'll know exactly what to say to the ref. And be
yeah,
like,
100%.
Yeah.
We'll start seeing sort of Katie McCabe-esque type dramatics going on.
We don't need that.
Yeah, so going back up to the other end of the pitch, I mean, when you kind of think about Chelsea and their attacking line, I mean, I don't think they had a bad game. I just think Man City were dominant, but they didn't create that many chances. They looked a bit lost, and that was quite a weird thing to see. I mean, Emma Hayes said the disappointing thing from us was our final third play, but I don't think they did have a couple of chances. I mean, but they just weren't good enough and clinical enough, which is something we don't see from Chelsea very often.
I think they'll be frustrated across the 90 minutes. I think that'll be frustrating for them because I don't really think they were in it as much as they would have expected to be in the first half, particularly. They did have 17 shots. 6 of them were on target. I feel like most of them came in the final 10 minutes. No, that's an exaggeration. But there was definitely a shift in the second half. Chelsea were definitely better in the second half.
Yeah, for sure.
I also felt a bit nervous for Manchester City because I felt like Gareth Taylor had decided a bit too early to sit back and try and defend the 1-0 lead.
You can't do that with 1-0.
I just felt like it was a little bit risky, and he made a few changes in the second half that kind of to make it a little bit, taking Kelly off and bringing on Angeldal, taking off Coombs and bringing on Stokes. I mean, that was a bit later in the game, but the Angeldal one was 79 minutes, and I just felt like, riding out 10 minutes of Chelsea kind of throwing everything but the kitchen sink at you felt a little bit risky, but then equally I've seen people on Twitter saying he didn't do it soon enough. So, you can see it both ways, but I just felt like a team like Chelsea trying to protect a 1-0 lead against a team like Chelsea is a risky business.
But is it that risky when you've got someone like Kiara Keaton in
Bloody
goal?
hell, that save she made from Tankovic, that double save.
I thought it was in. I was convinced that it was in. I was like, it's so close to her. Like, she's made the first save, cool. But I was like, I was convinced the second one was going to be like a cheeky little toe poke in. But
God love anybody writing during that.
Oh God!
Could you imagine the press box being like, right, pretty much got my whole piece done.
Just
Manchester City. I'm going to file on my 90. They've blown the title race wide open, and then could you imagine you'd be like rewrite in the final 90 seconds. You'd be absolutely raging.
But she had another fantastic performance. I mean, off the back of the performances that she had last weekend, you just think she's such a commanding presence now, and I think you can kind of see her growing in confidence. And it's not even just like the incredible saves that she's doing, but it's that she's making the simple stuff look really easy, like coming out to claim the ball. Her communication is key, like even just those simple sort of like takes. I mean, she's honestly, I think she's one. Well, I'm not saying she's one to watch. I mean, she is the goalkeeper of the hour. I mean,
her confidence is incredible for her age.
But what I'm really, really annoyed about is the fact that I've started up this WSL Football Fantasy League, and this weekend...
You started it, what, now?
It was quite early, it was quite late. It was quite late in the day.
You're more than halfway through the season, Chloe.
Rachel, I'm aware of where we're at.
Okay, you have bigger problems than I'm assuming who you did or didn't put in goal.
I put in Mary Earps in goal, thinking that this was going to be like moment to shine, cool, like Earps going to pull out the bag, we're going to get the Arsenal, we're going to destroy Arsenal, it's going to be absolutely fine. They're all going to be like defensive heroes. I've got like 28 points, which is like next to nothing in WSL Fantasy Football League. The worst thing was I also fielded Leah Williamson.
If you're just going to pick your team based on your favourites, Chloe, this is going to happen. You need to think laterally.